Hello, today I am going to demonstrate an idea which I have named as annotations, annotations. Annotation is combination of annotation and automation. That is automation using automation using annotations. So the basic idea is automated tracking of use cases in software artifacts using annotations. So we'll just delve into the problem domain. So typical Java project artifacts are spread across these phases: elaboration, construction, and transition. So in elaboration phase, the designer creates some class diagrams, sequence diagrams. In construction phase, those class diagrams and sequence diagrams are materialized into business code, and to test unit test this business code, developers write some unit test code. Again, for transition phase, this business whatever comments are written in business code and what APIs are there, their documentation is generated as API documentation that is useful in transition phase. In transition phase also, when the code gets executed at customer side or on a tester machine, it creates some logs. So here how I will demonstrate the relationship between these artifacts. So here we have this design diagram which the designer has designed. It gets converted into code, and also unit test cases. We can generate unit test case templates from this code as well. From this code comments, we generate API documentation. This code, when run on a machine, it generates certain logs like this. Here how the artifacts are related by use cases. So this is the designer. When he designed for certain use case. So here this designer is using this login use case, designing for this login use case. When the coder codes this, he codes for certain use case. Also he writes some unit test case for testing the same use case. So these artifacts, design, code, and unit tests are related by the use case. This is a typical scenario for maintenance phase of product. So customer is calling the maintenance team and complaining about certain use case. From his perspective, some use case is broken or it's not working properly. So when he complains about it, the maintainer job is to analyze the logs provided by the customer and find out what use case is broken, and he has to find out the code which is written for this use case. Now the maintainer could be the other person who hasn't written the code but he's just maintaining, so it's a tough job for him to find out the faulty code or the code that is related to the use case. Or even if finds the code, he has to know which use case or how to use that code, what's the significance. So he has to find the document, the API document for that, changing that code. Now once that document is fixed, once the bug or problem, customer problem is fixed, the maintainer has to be sure like whatever changes he has made to the code are correct and they are not affecting any other code related to that. So he has to find the unit tests which are related to that use case and he has to run them, and to make sure that it was running properly, he has to run them and be sure that whatever modifications he has made to the code are proper. But how to relate this use case, or how to embed this use case name in these artifacts? So one of the solution to this problem, like grouping all the documents or artifacts which are related to a use case, can be solved by embedding the use case name in each of these artifacts. But if we do it manually, it will be error prone or a nightmare for huge code. There would be a thousand number of logs, a number of unit tests, millions of lines of code, and it won't be easier to make it mandatory for people. There would be a lot of people maintaining that code, writing that code, designing that code, and it would be very cumbersome job to mandate it to embed the name of use case in each and every artifact. So there should be some automation so that every artifact will contain the name of the use case. Here is how the annotations are going to help us in this job to make the use case name embedded in every artifact. I will just demonstrate how we can use certain number of tools in Java which are already available, and how we can achieve this automation of embedding use case name in these artifacts. Okay, so this is my Eclipse use. Eclipse is the IDE for writing Java code, and this is my project. These are the packages inside this project. So I will show how a use case or how an annotation is you written in Java. So this is a sample annotation. This is the use case annotation, and this symbol signifies that it's an annotation. These are the properties of annotation. So we have just only one property for this use case annotation, that is the name of the use case. So it's just a simple code that is to be written in Java to write an annotation. Here is this is the tool which I use for designing. So we will just start with creating a class diagram. This is the class diagram. So I will just start designing. So this is my package name. I will just mention this package name here in my class diagram. Now I will design a certain number of classes. Okay, this is my first class. I am naming it as login handler. I will add certain operations just for demonstration purpose. This is do login, and I will add another method, that is authenticate. So this tool has facility to add the Java annotation at the design time only. So I will just add the annotation, the use case annotation that we just saw in Java code. So I will add. Now this is the property. We had seen that there is a name property. I will give the value for this name property as login. I will apply it. So this is our first class that is ready. I will also add certain other classes. I will add this logout handler that is similar to this login handler. I will just add a method inside it. We'll name it as do logout. I will also add the annotation into it, the same annotation, use case name is. Now I will change the use case name to be logout. So we have now two use cases, login for this login handler, logout for this logout handler. And I will add one more class, authenticator. So the job of this authenticator is to authenticate a user. So this is related to the same login use case. So I will tell that this is also related to the login use case. Okay, so and I will add some controller class which will invoke all the methods in these three classes. We'll just name is as a basic controller, and we will have a main method in it. This will not be related to any use case. This is just for controlling purpose. So now we have 4 classes in our hand. Now I will use the code generation facility available here. I have just shown you the workspace here. So there is only one class in this package, and the forward engineering should generate the classes for this design. So I will just do forward engineering. So here we have to give the root. I will give the root as this src folder. Okay, so we'll see what and all classes have been generated here. So we have 4 classes generated here, the authenticator, and as you can see, the use case name is embedded in this class automatically by the forward engineering tool. This is the use case name. Same we can see for logout. The use case name is logout. Now I'll demonstrate the use of another tool which create unit test templates for these generated classes. So this is the test case generator, and we'll see how it will also embed the annotations which are present on the original classes. So we'll just run this test case generator. This is built upon the velocity framework in Java. So I just run this tool, and here we can see the unit tests are generated besides each class. So we'll just see this login test handler, and you can see for each method a test method is generated, and we just have to write the code to test this method here. Also, the interesting part is here the use case. The use case annotation is embedded on this test class as well, with the proper use case name that was mentioned in design and then code and these test cases. So we can just run this test case using this Eclipse tool, and here you can see the result. Now there is no test code, so it's passing, and this shows the result of each test case here. This is how we can automatically generate the unit test templates, and we can retain the annotations in those test cases. Now the next part, we are going to write some real code that will generate logs. So we'll start with this controller. I will just make this static. I will add some arguments here so that it is runnable by Java. Now I will call the login handler from this method, the do login. We'll just go into this method and we'll write implementation for this. So we are not going to write the implementation, we are just write some logs that will tell what is going on in this method. So I am adding some information logs here. So I am telling like that, doing login. Done logging. Then from login method we'll call the authenticate method. So now we will write some logs in this authenticate method. Doing auth and done auth. here we